All right, well, it is 8:01, so we will go ahead and get started tonight. Thank you all for joining, and thank you all for taking some time to be with us on this Tuesday evening. So we're so excited to have you on our first See Where ACE Takes You event tonight as we kick off our application season for the 30th installment of the ACE Teaching Fellows. So we're looking forward to sharing an overview of kind of the application process with you all tonight before taking some time to answer many of your questions regarding the application. So before we dive into our brief presentation, I would like to take a moment for those of us who will be answering questions tonight to take a second to introduce ourselves. So Joe, if you're willing, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Sure, thanks, Tyus. Hey, everyone, great to be with you. It's great to see some familiar faces from all across the country. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Joe DeCipio. I'm a member of our ACE team. I was a member of ACE 25. I taught 5th grade out in Sacramento, California a couple years ago. And I joined our team in May 2020. And I've been working to recruit the next generation of Catholic school teachers, like some of you tonight here, and also to support our current ACE teachers in a couple of places, including Philadelphia, which right now I'm sitting in my childhood home here in my family's living room. So gonna be with some of our ACE teachers this week. So it's great to be with you all here tonight, and then be with some of our current teachers in the next couple of days. So thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. And I'm Tyus Welter. I am a recent graduate of ACE. I just finished up this May. I was down in San Antonio teaching middle school English, math, and religion at St. James the Apostle. Was also lucky enough to help coach some of the sports teams there, where we were able to win the soccer, basketball, and baseball championship in just a gauntlet of a division with 8 teams in our small Catholic school league there. So definitely enjoyed my experience down there. And so I joined the team just this summer, got kind of a recruiting and communication side of things, and just really hoping to learn as much as I can from Joe in my time here. That's really been my goal so far. So awesome to be here. Awesome to be here with you guys. And so we can go ahead and get started with our presentation now, so we can get as many of your questions as we want.
Sure. Yeah, we want to just kind of run through some of these big logistical things first, and then we'll open it up to kind of all your questions. So just want to talk about the 2 different timelines we have here. So we'll have a fall and a spring timeline. And the materials that you'll need for both of these, the process that you'll go through for both, are exactly the same. There's no priority timeline or early admission timeline where it's priority to one or the other. What's different here is what you know when you're getting an offer of admission into the ACE program. If you're applying in the fall, you'll know by December 9th, and you'll have an offer of admission without the full geographic details of your placement, because we're still working with our partner schools to see what they need for the next year. We're saying you're in ACE, and we're going to use your strengths, your content area backgrounds, to find that right placement for you. You're going to be a part of some early formation with our team already. We're going to get to better know you and find the right place for you if the fall timeline is where the direction you're going to go. The spring timeline, that deadline is going to be January 24th, and you'll find out sometime in early March. And if we have an offer of admission for you then we would be able to tell you the full geographic placement, what school you're teaching at, what grade level, exactly where you will be. And that's when everyone will find out their geographic details. Will be early March. So just want to give you a little bit of the difference between those two. We can talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And then the final thing here with timelines, we do want you to know that we can expedite a decision if you do have another offer from another program or another job, and you want a chance to consider ACE Teaching Fellows. If you reach out to us, to any member of our team here tonight, Tyus, myself, or Mike, we can work to expedite a decision for you so that you can decide between these 2 things. Because I know that our timelines are set here, but maybe you'll hear earlier on in the fall from some of the other great opportunities that you might have in front of you. So we want to give you the chance to consider both of those options.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. We'll wait for the slide to kind of become visible there. So as far as the actual application itself and what you'll need to prepare in order to apply for the Teaching Fellows program, There's kind of four main buckets or kind of areas to look for in the application. So the first is the online portion of the application, which you can find on our website. And that'll kind of deal with at first some personal info. So, all the good stuff, your name, date of birth, social security number, mother's maiden name, all of that, you'll give that right to us and we'll take good care of that for you. But just some biographical information, your resume, and you kind of want to tailor that resume towards, teaching, community service background, and that experience that you have, allow that to kind of show up and shine on your resume there. And then kind of the big piece of the online application will be the personal essays. So there'll be 5 of those, each around 200 to 250 words, give or take. And you'll find that part, it's listed as program upload on the online application. And that's where you will kind of do the bulk of the writing and work on the front end for the application. Along with the online application, you will upload an academic transcript. This is an unofficial transcript, so you don't need to pay your university or order anything official from your school. Anything that has the classes you've taken with your grades, as well as the classes you're currently enrolled in, will be sufficient for that. But we do just need some record of your coursework as a part of the application. The third part, we do need 4 letters of recommendation for you. 2 of those should come from a professor at your school. 1 should come from a spiritual or community mentor. This could be someone like a priest, like a rector, an RA, someone that can kind of speak to your spiritual and traits in the community as well. And then 1 final letter of recommendation from a peer. So that's the third point. And then finally, our last part of the application is a basic skills requirement. This can be an ACT score, SAT score, praxis exam score, or if you've taken the GRE, you're welcome to send that in as well. So those are the four points, and we can kind of speak to those if you have more questions about the essays or the letters themselves as we kind of get to the Q&A portion later on tonight.
All right. Final 2 pieces here, and some of the most important. First of all, you want to make sure that when you go into the Notre Dame Graduate School's application portal here, that you're selecting the ACE MED Summer 2023 application type. You don't want to end up having to do all of the materials for the physics grad program if that's not what you're interested in, and have all your materials be sent to the wrong place. So you want to make sure you select our application, because there are a couple of pieces that we have that are different from other graduate school programs here on campus at Notre Dame. Then the final, and I think the most important thing here, you want to make sure that you put the ACE 72 waiver into the box where it asks for a fee waiver, because we do not want you to pay to apply to our program, and neither should you want to pay, because you don't need to, and we definitely don't want college kids having to spend money that they don't need to. So make sure that you use this waiver and let us know if you have any questions on those types of things as you're going through the process these next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Yes, definitely the most important information of the night right there, ACE 72. Don't make yourself pay for something you don't have to, right? So that's kind of our presentation. That's our overview of the application. So now we want to take the rest of this evening to just turn things over to you and answer any specific questions that you guys might have. So how this will work, if you have a question, just go ahead and raise your Zoom hand by clicking on participants and then click on the raise hand option. And then Joe or I will call on you. Once we've called on you, you can go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask your question, and then we'll get started answering them.
Awesome. Why don't we start out with Carson? I saw she raised right away there.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, since there's 2 application cycles, if we apply in the fall and we are not accepted, are we able to then reapply in the spring, or is it you're done?
No, that's a great clarifying question. So if you apply here in the fall, one of the application decisions you might hear in December is that your application is deferred into that spring pool. So it's not the end of the line if you're not offered admission right in December. We're not going to be able to admit the entire cohort then, because we're still working with our partner schools in December, January to see exactly what they need, because maybe they need a ton of English teachers this year or a ton of science teachers. So we're trying to meet the needs of these schools we serve. So there will definitely be that opportunity to apply again and renew your application and keep it going. If you apply here in the fall, you can continue to be a part of the spring pool as well.
Awesome. Now, Joe, will you have to completely reapply, or will your application from the fall be carried over to the spring if you'd like?
No, you can just carry over all of those materials. If you'd like to update a resume, we'd have you send in kind of your grades from that fall semester. So you're welcome to update essays and other things, but you wouldn't need to. But you have the opportunity to as well, because we always believe in growth. So thanks for that clarification.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Kate, I think you were next. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, please. Thank you, Kate.
Hi, thank you for having all of us, by the way, this evening. This is really great. I had two questions. So one, are school placements mostly in the Indiana area by Notre Dame? Or I know one of you said you were in Philadelphia. Are your partner schools in other states as well? And then what does housing look like for ACE members?
Sure. Can you take it?
Yeah, I can go ahead. As to the first part, we do have just over 30 placements all across America. So while there are some placements kind of near the Indiana area, we have a house in Indianapolis, we have a house in Louisville, in Kentucky, we have a house in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. There's also lots of houses spread out in the South. We have, I think, 5 communities in Texas, around the same number of communities in California. So really, you pick a region in the country, there's a good chance that ACE has a placement there, and we were serving schools somewhere in that area, to answer your first question. As far as the housing goes, it is a little bit dependent on your location, but it is going to be an affordable housing provided in partnership with the ACE program and the Archdiocese, or the diocese that you'll be working for. So you have subsidized rent that will come with your stipend for teaching at the school, and that'll kind of is calculated within the cost of living at the city you're placed in to kind of cover housing, groceries, gas, and all kind of the important parts of living and teaching.
Yeah, and you're living in community with the other ACE teachers in that diocese that you're serving. So when I was in Sacramento, I lived with 5 other ACE teachers in an old convent. The people I work with here in Philly, there's 5 of them. They're living in a row home in the city. So it really depends place to place. Sometimes it might be an old church building that's close by to a parish or school we serve. Sometimes it's just a house or an apartment. So it does depend place to place, but that's a great question. Grace, I think you were up next.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a quick question and then one a bit more in depth. But for both of the timelines, how long do you have to commit or decide? Like if you are admitted on the December 9th one, then how long would you have to decide?
Sure. In December, you'll have 7 days to respond to our offer. And then the rest of the way, you'll typically have 5 days to respond to our offer, as we're trying to give our partner schools the best teachers they can. So it's 5 to 7 days, both timelines.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then I was just wondering if you could talk a bit more about what you look for in the short answer, the essay responses, and how we should approach those.
Sure. So we have a number of different essays. They kind of are getting at different angles of the 3 pillars of our program of community, of teaching, and spirituality. So you have a question that's kind of a personal statement, why you're motivated to be an ACE teacher overall. Then looking into your family and how that community shaped you, other important communities, where you are in your spiritual journey, no matter if you're Catholic, if you're Christian, or if you're neither of those things. We just want to get the sense of where you are in that journey and how you're hoping to grow. And then also just experience in doing challenging things. How have you grown throughout the past 4 years? or the past couple of years if you've been working for a few years, whatever it is. So we're trying to get at those angles, right, of community teaching and spirituality.
Thanks for those questions, Grace. Anna, I think you are next.
Hi, yes. I was wondering, for during the summer, do we pay for the housing or does the university provide that?
Great question. So for your coursework over the summer, that will be at no cost to you. You'll stay in one of our dorms here on campus. And then along with that, you'll actually be able to eat at the dining halls throughout the course of the week. So room and board, housing, that'll be all covered, as you can just kind of focus on your studies and preparing for the upcoming school years while you're here on campus.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan. Go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering if there were any benefits to applying early other than getting your decision earlier.
Yeah, I think beyond kind of having that ability to go home for Christmas break and be able to tell people you know what you're doing. I think also being able to get in touch with our team earlier. So folks that are admitted on that fall timeline will have discernment conversations with and some like group meetings to help you to start thinking about stepping into the classroom in just a few months. So you have that formation piece already that's a part of our program, but that also helps us to better get to know you and for you to better know us so that we can make that placement even better. We get to match you with the exact right school where your strengths are going to be really valuable, where you're going to be set up to thrive, and where the students you're serving just have like a great teacher that is going to also be able to use their talents in coaching like Tyus and lead them to a championship, or like Mike to lead them in some engineering clubs after school. So it's just an opportunity for there to be more input into kind of that placement decision. So thanks for that question.
For the record, the engineering club is just as cool as winning district titles, Tyus. Just throwing that out there for the group.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that, Mike. Carson, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, another question. I was just gonna ask, I was thinking there was an interview process. What is the timeline there, like decide or finding out when you got an interview?
Sure. So about a week or so after each of those deadlines, you'll get a chance to schedule an interview through an email with our team. So if you're on campus at the University of Notre Dame, St. Mary's, or Holy Cross, we'll schedule an in-person interview. If you're at a different university, we'll schedule a Zoom interview with a few members of our team. Sometimes if we have kind of a critical mass of applicants in, say, like a school or a city that has a ton of colleges like Boston or Philadelphia, maybe members of our team will come in person. And if you're in a drivable distance, we'll invite you to do that if that's an option you want to consider, because we just believe things are better when we're together and when we're face to face in the same room. But we can't obviously travel to every single city in the country every single year. So that's kind of that process. So about a week. 5 days to a week after that submission deadline, you'll get a chance to schedule an interview.
Yeah, and when I was going through my application process for the interview, it's the first time I actually seen a Zoom interview or meeting before, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I've never heard of this." And then 2 months later, COVID hit, and everybody knew what Zoom was after that. So yeah, a little bit of everything for you on the application there, but thanks for that question. William, go ahead.
Howdy. I just had a quick question. I may have missed this earlier. But I just wanted to know if we had the opportunity to choose where we go to once we get that acceptance to that placement.
Sure. I think this is one of the questions I get the most. because so what our process is we're going to be matching your strengths, your background, your talents with the needs of the schools. We do give you the chance on the application to rank your preference of grade levels and subject areas that you're interested in teaching, so that we get a sense of like how you're envisioning yourself in the classroom. We're going to look at your experiences. If you've worked with this age group before, we're going to look at your major. So we're not going to just throw like me as an econ journalism guy right into a physics classroom. That wouldn't be great for me. We're going to set you up to thrive. But we don't have a process where you're requesting a city and a specific content area. Because for example, when I was doing this, I really wanted to teach high school English, and I really would have loved to be in LA. But if a school in LA doesn't need a high school English teacher the year I'm applying, I'm not going to LA, right? Like I'm not going to be the person that's needed at that school that year. So it is so dependent on what our partner schools need, and that's what we're here to do first and foremost, is to serve them. That's the benefit of that early timeline, is that we get to have those conversations early and get to know you and see like what you are envisioning. We'll have a conversation about that. We can't guarantee like, hey, Joe, you're going to LA and teaching high school English in December, because there's just too many unknowns there. But we do want to try and best fit what you're thinking about. But Tyus might talk about this too. Such a big part of my experience in this program was that displacement, that kind of expectations versus reality is sometimes where some of the biggest growth is going to happen. And you get to have some of that conversation in the interview as well. We will ask you just kind of where you're feeling called towards, or maybe where you're feeling called away from. For me, it was didn't want to go back home to the Northeast right after college. So we will be able to have those conversations, but it's never going to be something we can guarantee you in November or when we're interviewing right in January, until we know what the school landscape needs kind of in March.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, when I was starting with ACE, one of the hardest things for me in the decision was going to San Antonio and going 17 hours away from home. And so that was hard for me to leave, but you get there and you spend time in the community, and by the end of my 2 years, and having winters without snow was pretty nice too. It was really hard for me to leave San Antonio at the end of those 2 years too. So even though it's not always the place you want, it's with your community there and with your school community. If you invest that time there, it really becomes a home in and of itself, or at least it did for me. But yeah, thanks, Joe. Claire, I think your next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I just had a quick question about the basic skills requirement part of the application. I was wondering if there's a requirement for how recent it needs to be, or if it can just be any one that we've taken in the past.
Yeah. I'll hop in because I've been our testing coordinator in the past few years. Thankfully, be moving away from that a little bit here, but I know the game. It can be your SAT, ACT score that you took as a senior in high school, junior in high school, entering into college. Basic skills, what it's all about for this application is it's a requirement for the state of Indiana's licensure process. So it's not a part of our admissions decision at all. It's something that we need to document as you apply, so that as you complete the program, you can earn that Indiana license. There's a link on our website about like the basic skills scores and everything. If you do fall below like that suggested cutoff, that's not going to be a part of our admissions decision either. We will come to that later. You just need to prove that with a different test once you're in the program. And that's all related to your license. It's not related to your candidacy to the ACE program. So yeah, it doesn't have to be this year. So you don't have to retake the SAT. I know everybody was like, oh my gosh.
You can if you want to, though. Or if you lose a fantasy football league and that's your punishment, welcome to send in any scores that you need.
So I think we have one down here in the chat. So Tilly's question is, how long the summer coursework lasts? Do we get a little little bit of time to get moved in, settled at our placement before the school year begins. Yeah, so our summer runs pretty much June, beginning of June till the 3rd, 4th week of July. It's an 8-week summer for first year teachers. And most of our schools are starting middle of August, and then the Philly schools started today. So if you're on the East Coast, you might start after Labor Day. I knew that growing up, it's great. So you will have a little bit of time between the summer and the school year to get to your site, to move in, get your bedroom set up, your classroom set up. You might have some professional development with your staff in those first weeks of August, but that will be before the kids are getting there. You're getting to know the other faculty, the other folks teaching in your diocese or archdiocese. So most of our placements really have a good couple of weeks, and some have had more than a couple in between the summer and the start of the school year. And Mike just shared the summer dates. So our move in to ND this year, it's June 2nd, and our last day of the summer this year is going to be July 27th. So it's just helpful context. Awesome. What other questions do we have? You guys will get used to this. This is wait time, is what you teachers call it.
Yep, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so what is like the process for getting the license look like? Is it, I read on your website that it's like transferable in certain states, but like I was just wondering kind of like if we have to take any tests like teachers have to do, like what does that whole process look like?
Yeah, so there are a couple of test benchmarks. I'm back with the tests. So entering into the program, you'll have your basic skills, and then in the spring, in between or in the summer, you'll take a content area test of your first year. So for me, that was elementary level. So I took the elementary content test because I was teaching 5th grade. And then in the spring of my 2nd year in ACE, I took a pedagogy test. So pedagogy is kind of like that art of teaching. So all of your MED coursework prepares you for that. Your almost year and a half of teaching at that point has prepared you really well for that. Those 3 test benchmarks are what earns you a license when you graduate from our program in May of your 2nd year. So the day that Notre Dame hosts their graduation in May, you'll still be teaching your kiddos. We have our own graduation in July where we celebrate, but the day that Notre Dame has their graduation in May in your 2nd year is when you'll be able to apply for your license in Indiana. All you have to do is submit all those documents. We click that you graduated, and then it's about $35. Now you have a license in the state of Indiana. You're talking a little bit about transferring it. So we have a testing and licensure team here, a part of ACE, that will help you transfer it to any state. We have really good reciprocity with, I think it's 48 states. I think it's like New York and Massachusetts make it just like you have to do a couple extra steps because they just like being different. But we've had ACE teachers go on to teach in all 50 states with the Indiana license. And we have a great team over there of Erica and Dr. Bonfiglio that'll be really helpful for you in your 2nd year of working through those steps of whatever they are to transfer it to wherever you want to be next after ACE.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. And just in the interest of time, interested of respecting all of your times, we're going to start to wrap up here. If you do have more questions, you're welcome to stay on after we kind of get through these closing remarks here. And you're also welcome to reach out. We're going to post my email, Joe's email, the rest of our staff's email. You can always reach out, and we will get to answer that as soon as we can. But that is all the time we have for questions tonight. And so, like I said before, this is our staff team. You do have these slides, so all the contact information is there. We'd love to help to answer any emails, to meet with you guys for a phone call or a Zoom meeting and kind of walk you through the application process. Anything that you guys think might help you as you're kind of thinking about ACE, thinking about applying, going through the process, we want to walk with you through that journey and help you guys in any way we can. So please always feel free to reach out. we do want to be a resource for you. And like I said, you have these slides. This information is posted on our website as well. Love the transitions.
We want to continue to invite you to engage with our team, and we have a couple of continued panels that we'll have throughout the fall in the See Where Ace Takes You series. So you can find those. I think Michael put in the chat too, where you can sign up to continue to learn, talk to graduates, talk to current teachers, learn about the different things that folks go on to do after ACE, as well as learn a little bit more about applying, learn a little bit more about like what the experience looks like.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. And so before we close tonight, just one last thing, Joe, is there any last advice you'd like to give anyone who's considering starting an ACE application or thinking about ACE?
Sure. I think if you're on the fence about this, or even if you're really sure that you want to apply, I think the thing that I want to tell you is that the application itself is a discernment process. As you continue to do this, talk to people that you know that are in the program now or did ACE. Talk to people on our team. Talk to the people that know you best, and really spend time with the application questions. I think for me, as I started writing some of my responses about 4 years ago now, maybe 5, I don't want to think about it, that started to help me think about what did I want in my next step after undergrad. I wanted to continue experiences like I had with Camp Kesem, a group I worked with as an undergrad. I wanted an opportunity to grow, and I wanted an opportunity to be around other people that like were really on fire about what we were doing and on fire about their faith. So those questions helped me figure that out, talking with people that knew me well and talking with people that did this program helped me start to discern. And I think the final piece too is for especially those on the fence that filling out an application is not a commitment. Submitting that is not a commitment. It's just a commitment to the next step of having a conversation in the interview, where you're going to learn just as much about ACE in that interview as the team that's interviewing will learn about you. So just go for it, I think is my best advice. All it is a couple of essays that help you think about what you actually want, and you can really see where just a couple of essays might take you in the next couple of years. So that's my advice.
Very well said. Thank you, Joe. So thank you again to all of you for making it tonight. We really appreciate having you here, and happy to answer all your questions, and we'll continue to be happy to answer your questions as kind of the application process goes on. So thank you for joining us. If you do have any last questions, feel free to hang on, but the rest of you are free to enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Catherine, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, this is should be pretty quick, but do you guys recommend applying for this? Is this something that you require right after college, or if you wanted to take a year off before doing it, is that something that happens, or is it recommended that you do it right after you graduate?
Sure, it's definitely an option for folks that go to do something for a year or two. If there's something that you're already committed to for the next year, that's definitely an option. We have people that came to us from working at Deloitte to people that did JVC before being an ACE teacher, so it's definitely an option. And we also have people that do the opposite, that go work for Deloitte after 2 years of ACE, or go serve with JVC after 2 years with ACE. So can really do these things in any order. So I think continuing to discern like, what's the next step next year and what's the step after that. And we're happy to walk through that too, if that's part of your kind of discernment this next year.